Good afternoon everybody and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Ollie and today we're going to be running through the key new features in the latest release. Okay. If you've got any questions during or after the session, please use our live chat facility where Mike will be on hand today to ask any questions before, during and after the session. Okay. So as you can see on screen, I've got the first tab open with some of the new features or the key new features in the latest release. I've covered a little small section at the bottom there as well in terms of all the bits that have been going on in the background that I guess product wise you wouldn't see the kind of the big changes to, but all the work that's going on in the background from our development team. Okay, so first one there, voucher codes, the functionality has been extended and also added to the back office. So originally the voucher code system was available for Prima Go customers, offer a 10% discount, 10% a £10 order off value onto the web. That's now been added into the back office and I'll demonstrate that in further detail as well. Okay, call off orders, new functionality built in within the sales line, a different way to manage call off orders. So I know some customers feedback that they like the way the system does it at the moment or previously, but there's also an option now for those that prefer it in a different way to utilise this function as well. So being able to call off directly from the sales line, seeing what kind of stock you've got exactly from there. Okay, so we'll demonstrate that during the session. Calculated delivery costs, so taking into account pick, wrap and label and direct deliveries. From your sales order, you can have an idea before you've actually processed it through. If you've got, say, 2 items on your order, they're going to different suppliers, it's going to incur two different delivery costs. You can make that decision, I guess, from point of sale and see just some kind of generic information of the delivery costs and taking into account if you're sending it direct on a pre-10, pre-12, whatever it may be as well. Okay. Next one is rebates. So actually being able to put your kind of supplier rebates in at supplier level and also product level as well into the system. So being able to kind of mask your cost price if you wanted to, if you've got your rebates, being able to see what the true cost is with that taken into account as well. Okay, well I'll cover the kind of the other section to begin with and then I'll move on to voucher codes, call off orders and so on as well. So in terms of the other section, just to give you an insight from development point of view, what the guys work on is these kind of big new features that will enhance the product further for you as well, but also some of the small, I say small, quite a lot of work involved from development point of view, but for you guys as customers, what you will actually see in the product. So feedback from fixes of kind of previous releases that we've done, little fixes on that point of view, and also small little enhancements or little extra areas to say a grid in the system. So one of them, just to point out an example, would be within your source of selling price on a sales order line, you've now got a final selling price column in there. So if you've got, say, source of sale price, it's come from the contract, it's come from the pricing bands I've got set up against the products. It lists all that information to tell you where it would come from and I guess all the possible selling prices, but it now tells you as well, right, that's the final selling price and it's arrived at this price. So that's added in at the sales line, source of sale price. So that's an example of a small enhancement addition is what I've classified that under. Okay, new marketplace suppliers. So when you go into your Prima Cloud dashboard, you've got your marketplace little button in the bottom right if you've not seen it before. That takes you through to marketplace where you can see all the Prima available suppliers as such, so the data files in the system. So you can see national tape suppliers for Irish customers, Internet of Printing and TC Office, both UK suppliers, and also new EDI suppliers, so offering an EDI service to Prima customers as well through ordering, so everything imaging and also BCD suppliers as well, some of the latest kind of additions to Prima Cloud users. Okay, so first of all then, if we start off with voucher codes, I'll cover that in terms of how you set them up, how it affects the system and what you can do in terms of utilising this in Prima as well. Okay, so I'll switch to the live screen. Okay, and you can see Prima Cloud open there, but what I want to do first of all is actually, if I just open the admin, so I'll drag that over. So when you open your Prima Cloud login box, you've got the option for your application. So if you select administration and then sign in, and that'll take you into the area then where you actually set up your voucher codes. Okay, once signed in, you've got your general section on the left hand side. You click into there, and then from here you've got a tick option for voucher codes. So click into here and then you've got your options for delivery codes. So you can have as many as you want to in here. It could be the case that you quote to a customer in a mail shot, here you go, here's LFC 10, place this online and enter that voucher code and you'll get £10 off your order. It could be the case that you've got something in the back office that's just for you guys as a reference to apply a gift to an order. That kind of thing you can have in the system. So if I click into here, into one of the existing ones, but you can create new at the bottom there, which will take you into the same screen. So if I click into this free chocolate offer that I've got going on, click into there, and if I just pull that back over, you've then got the option to enter a code. So if your customer enters this on Prima Go, they would then have this offer applied to them in the web store. So again, if it is something like a £10 off, or 10% off on the web, whereby they've got to spend £50, £100 to qualify for that offer, you can replicate that information within here. So previously, what I'll do in fact is start from the new voucher and pretend we're setting up a new one. So if I go into here and set up the code, this is what they'd enter on the web store. So if it was going to be, say, Ollie free, and that's the code they'd have to enter on the web. The description is a reference, I guess, for you guys in the back office, but also when the customer actually enters this voucher on the web, it'll then give them this description. So if you want to give them a thank you for placing your order or something like that, you can put a description in there, or otherwise you can just put £10 off order or something like that. This one I'm just going to say free gift. Okay, and then the bit that matters, I guess, is this type section here. So as you can see, it's set to a fixed value at the moment, which that means it's an actual value, so £10 rather than 10%. From the drop down, you've got options then for percentage, so if you were doing 10%, but the latest addition is the free product. So what you can actually do is tell the system, right, okay, when I put this voucher code against an order, this is what's going to pull through. So I can actually set a threshold, so minimum order to qualify for this voucher. So if I said £50 in there, I could set that up. And I can also put a usage count per the company. So the company can only use this once because they're only getting one free gift, or they can use it as many times as they want to. Just put in a 99999 kind of figure in there. Okay. Product search, that pulls through from your back office. So whatever you set up in your stock area here, that would then pull through to there. So if you set up a chocolate gift or a teddy bear or whatever it may be that you're giving away, you can then populate that search and pull that through. And as you can see, then you can select the exact unit. So if you've got a pack of 10, a pack of 100, you can actually decide which item and pack size is going to apply to the order. So you can have if you spend £1,000 with us, you get a crate of chocolates rather than a box of chocolates, those kind of things. And also the option to also apply against a sales order. So as soon as you hit new record and sales order in Prima, that then applies this gift to the order. So you don't have to remember, right, okay, has the customer met the threshold? Can I give them the free gift? Are we making enough money on this order to actually give it away? You can have that preset in here. So if I click to auto apply to sales order, when I go to new record, sales order, and create my order, this will then pull through, as long as, obviously, this is the only one selected with this option. Okay, and also you can set your start and end dates in terms of this is going to expire this time next year. Okay, so the one that we'll use in today's session is this kind of free chocolate offer. So if I just click into there, the one that I've already pre-set up. So if they were using the web store, they have to enter that. Otherwise, by default, this is going to also apply to the sales order and pull through this product. So as you can see, I've just put a random figure in here to make sure that the company can have it as many as these times on the order. And there's also no threshold, so they'll get it straight away. Okay. So in the back office then, if I went into new record, sales order, and I'll search for my company. Okay, and then create order. And then from here, then you'll see the automatic voucher that's applied to that order. Okay, so straight away there's a Cadbury chocolate applied to the order. So if I then started to build my order as normal, hit authorise, and then you've got your free gift on that order on there as well. Okay, so that's if you're automatically applying the voucher. If it wasn't that, and I had that unticked, and I actually decided at point of sale, what am I going to give them? Am I doing sales quotes where I'm ringing round and saying, actually, if you place your order today, I'll give you some free chocolates, or again, anything that your imagination takes you to. You can then go into your vouchers in the bottom right over here, which is a new addition. Click into there, and then from here, then have your available vouchers to choose from. So this one's been applied to the order, so that's probably why it's not showing anything here. But otherwise, you would then have your list of available vouchers that are valid at this time. And then from there, then you can say, right, okay, add that one, add the voucher, and that then applies to your order. So again, if it is a 10% off, if it is a £10 off, that kind of thing, you can add to your order as well. Okay, so that's the voucher code. So again, any questions you've got during or after the session, Mike's on the live chat, or if you're watching this back, use the training app primasoftware.co.uk email address to send any questions through. Okay, so the next section then is call-offs. So as I mentioned earlier, you can now do this sales order line entry, or level rather. So when I click into SOP and orders, and if I just get rid of my filters there, what you can do is kind of going one step further before we've actually shown you how to set this up, is when you extend your search, clicking on your coloured bar here, you can actually search for what's on a call-off order at the moment. So I can run a search, find all the orders that have a call-off item on there at the moment. I can even break it down by lines and see those items, and a new actual kind of column or row, whatever it's called, sorry, in here, you'll then see the call off quantity, and also from there then you can see, I guess, the actual quantities. You can see there 60 I guess is remaining on that one. Okay, so if you were setting this up, what we could do is use this outstanding sales order here as an example. So I'll click into there. So let's pretend we've just gone to new record, sales order, and then built this order. As you can see there's my free chocolates on my order as well. And when you enter in your line to the order, so if I typed in WX01087 into there, I then jumped into the line, this is then where it's going to take me to. So actually setting a call off against the item is built in to the delivery details tab over here. So click into there, and what you have now is this tick option for call off order. So once you actually authorise that order, that would then come into effect. So at the moment it's just ticked. I can untick it and unmark it as it's outstanding. But once you've actually authorised your order, you can then go back into the item and call off. So if your customer calls up and says, right, I'll have another 20 today, I'll have another 50, whatever it may be, you can then call off that stock in there. So one thing I guess that you could do as well was when you come into this section here, I've lost my trail of thought there. Jesus. Yeah, so I'll stop. Yeah, so in terms of the actual call off order, you come into your item, call off the stock, and what you can also do, sorry, this is just click then, you can actually put your order source in there as call off if you wanted to as well. So I guess traditionally that's what customers have done in the order source, is classified the order as call off, but now what you've got is the actual option, extending your search, has call off in there, so you can actually find those items within the call off order. Okay, so back into sales order then, back into your line, you can then see this information. So if I authorise this order now, as long as I've put my reference in, so I'll just put the reference in for this customer, Control and S to save. So if I hit authorise now, that then goes into requirements. Okay, so if you're wanting to bill the customer up front, which is actually what I was thinking of before, you can come into your header detail and tick the invoice and authorization. So you can actually bill up front for the items rather than calling off an invoice as and when you're delivering these items. So with this current sales order at the moment, when I go into line now, into my paper, I go to call off quantity, I'll tell the system, right, call off 20, hit call off, that then releases 20 into requirements, or if stock's available, straight away available for dispatch notes. So as I mentioned there, if you're doing it this way, you would then be invoicing as and when you release the goods effectively. Otherwise, if you're invoicing up front for the call off, you would use header detail and invoice and authorization to pull that through. Okay, so if I come into run a search now, you can then see call off quantity remaining is 80 and the actual quantity in there somewhere in the lines, run a search, is 100. So you can actually come into here, see the information and call it off as you need to. Okay. So yeah, so as I mentioned, if stock's available, yeah, then go through straight to dispatch, otherwise it's into your requirements then to do that way. Okay. So if I just go into another outstanding order, another new kind of neat feature with call offs kind of in mind here, what you can do is when you go into the sales order, which actually let's create a new one from fresh. So test order and create. Okay, so I'll just type in that paper code this customer's got on call off. Okay, so when I search for that item, it actually then tells me there's a call off available. So actually, instead of producing a new order for the customer, the system's flagging to me that this item's already on call off. So what I can do is click on the call off available, and from here, similar to what you can do in the delivery details tab, is actually say, right, call off another 20, hit call off, and that then releases the item. So you can see here this customer with testing, he's got 2 lots of call off. But otherwise what you can do then is call off from here, and then from there it's kind of informed you that instead of adding that to your order, you can actually call off what they've already paid for or already going to pay for as such from a different order. Okay, so again, any questions, ask away in the live chat. So the next one is calculated delivery cost, which is now built in sales order summary and also in the header as well. So if I enter in a couple of random items onto this order, so the trusted punch pockets, and I'll enter in that paper code again. Okay, so from here, as you can see, it's a direct delivery, and if I actually go into my items, if I went into that paper, and from here, in that delivery details tab again, you've got these options for delivery methods. So with this item, if it's going to VOW, for example, I can actually say, yeah, that's going direct, And the delivery code, which I've set up in my Vow supplier, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as you've kind of set up with Vow, or Spices or Antalis, whatever it may be. You can then say, actually, this one's going to go on a pre-12, save that on, and then when you save that, if you go to your header detail, it'll give you a full breakdown of the calculated delivery cost there. So it's giving you some information in terms of before you actually process your order, by the way, you've got items for Vow, you've got items for Spices, all going direct, and this is actually what it's going to cost you to process the order. So this is kind of giving you an informed decision in the header detail of exactly what's going on with your order. So if I went in and added a Spices item or an Exertis or Antalis, whatever it may be, then that then would calculate based on only direct delivery and pick wrap and label, and give me the information in terms of what's my calculated delivery cost there. So as you can see, it's £5. So in my summary there, it'll give me some information here in terms of what's the calculated delivery cost when I actually process this through to purchase. So it may be the case that you purchase it elsewhere, and this is just giving the reference in terms of, right, if you do place this order with 2 different suppliers, it's going to be £10 rather than 5. But yeah, it's just a calculated delivery cost to give you, I guess, information on what potentially this order could cost you from a delivery perspective. Okay. So the next one then is moving on to rebates in Prima. So rebates are now built in, as I mentioned before, at supplier level, where you can put a default, but then you can also, at product level, actually define a different level. So if your supplier says, right, EOS products, the rebate is this, for paper products, the rebate is this, you can actually define that at product level as well. So if I go into a company, so I'll just go into a random company record, so again, I'll just use Voucher, for example, go into their company record in the system, and then what you would do is go into your supplier tab, and then from here then you've got a default rebate. So if you've got a rebate on your cost pricing, you can actually put that percentage in there. So my rebate on my test database is 2%. So for those users that are set to change purchase cost, which is a level in the admin against each user, they can then see the rebated costs and also the actual cost that, I guess, is masked with this rebate in mind. So to give you an example of that, if I just minimise out of here and go into a product, and I'll use that punch pocket again as an example. Okay, so into your products, and then where you would go is into your supplier tab on the right hand side here. Okay, and as you can see, against my Vow supplier in here, I've then got this rebate which is pulled through from the default, and then I can see my actual rebated cost. So when I'm in the source of selling price, the supplier cost prices in the sales order, also in my requirements, I can now actually see, if I've got that permission, to see the rebated cost versus the cost in the system. So from here again, as you can see there, you've got the override default rebate. So if it is an item that gets more than 2% or less than 2%, you can actually adjust that per product or through the grid manager, which I'll come on to, in terms of actually saying, actually this item I get a rebate of this, on this item I get this one, so you can actually change that too. So from here then, you can see the purchase cost and what the actual rebated cost would be. So I guess just to show you an example of that would be in your requirement screen, you're purchasing. If I run a search, I'm not pre-prepared any examples here, but what you would then be able to see is the purchase cost and then the purchase cost with rebate. So I guess from there then you'll be able to say actually it's actually only $24.50 rather than $24.93, and you can see that sort of information from there. And same again in your supplier cost prices in your sales order line, if you've got permission, you can see that information as well. Okay, so in terms of the grid manager and updating this in mass, so you can do it via a default at the supplier level, which then applies to all your products with that supplier assigned to them. But what you can also do is in stock and supplier grid manager, if I click into there, you can then search for, say, Vow and search for EOS, whatever it may be. I'll just use a smaller search so the grid manager's a quicker response. I'll just use that punch pocket again. So I can run a search then in the supplier grid manager for that item. So I can go into the change tab then and actually update the rebate to use a supplier default, which is going to be my 2%, or set it to, and I can change that to 5% or something. So I guess from there you can make a decision rather than it being just one item, just a bad example. You can use a certain classification range or whatever it may be, and actually perform that search from there as well. Okay, so that's at supplier level, but what you can also do is do it at rebate level. So from this drop down here, the new addition as well, is click into the drop down, and you can actually search for items that are using the supplier default rebate by standard. So if I did that now and hit a search in my test database, all the Vow items would then appear because they're the only ones using the default rebate. Okay, I can then find any items that have overridden the supplier's default rebate. So if I went into that punch pocket and said actually it's 5%, then that item would appear in this search. Uses a supplier default rebate and is equal to, so I guess you can see if it's equal to 2% and it's using the default, you'd find those items. Overrides the supplier default rebate and is equal to, so you can find someone that's increased by, I don't know, 5% or something, and it's equal to this figure. You can see that information and find those products. And the rebate is equal to, so I could say, right, find me everything that's a 5% rebate, run a search, and then from there then you could find those products in your grid, go into your change tab and say actually update these to 4%, 3%, wherever it may be. Okay, so that's everything in terms of, I guess, the key features that I was going to cover today. So in terms of, I guess, what's going on development wise as well, and some of the products or features rather that haven't made this release, quite a lot's been going on in terms of big features from a development point of view, and a lot of work actually included in getting those into the products. But just to share with you, I guess, what's coming up and what's being worked on, which we were hoping to get into this release, but from testing and making sure everything's kind of accurate, it's not quite made it. So the next slide here you can see is the features we're still working on. So in the background, the actual pod app, so the proof of delivery app, is now being kind of enhanced constantly by Lehman Development, doing a great job of it. And also what you can now do, there's a logout button on there, as you can see on screen. There's also the information to tell the driver if a customer's on hold or the dispatch note's on hold. And there's also going to be CRM functionality, which is really kind of some great stuff that's being done. So in terms of switching from the proof of delivery over to CRM, I say CRM lightly because what you can see is company data, contact data and locations. So I guess from there then, if you're on the road and you want to see a customer, you can open Prima software up. You can then say, right, okay, show me where they are on the map, click on the location, that then opens up Google Map. You can click go, get in your car and drive to Prima software. Likewise, you can see contact information, click on the email, opens up your emails, click on the phone number, that'll then dial the number. So I guess the first phase of CRM is being built into the app, and that's something that I can actually see Liam doing at the moment. I can see the kind of improvements that are being made, but that's not quite released just yet. Okay, next one is the loyalty scheme. So this is being, I guess, thrown around quite a lot in development in terms of thinking of different ideas of how it would work, because you think a place like Tesco would do a reward scheme, you think of those kind of things. There's so many different ways in which you can do it and how people would want to do it in terms of doing a point system, but then does this item that's on contract less of a point than one that isn't on contract and it's a furniture item. Those kind of things are being defined and I guess built into the products for loyalty schemes to be released for Prima customers. So that's going to be really good as well. And the final one there, just to mention, pricing bands are now going to be able to have the margin and discount option. So at the moment you can only have a pricing band with margin or discount. So there's ways around it in terms you can have mailers with the discount option and your margin band set up. Different ways to get around it, but you can actually now say, right, okay, the Ollie Rolls company, he's going to get 50% margin, but the Mike Smith company, he's going to get 50% discount. So you can actually choose that kind of the company level rather than when you're classifying your actual products as well. Okay, so they're just a few things that I've taken out of kind of development's workload. There's all sorts of stuff going on, but they're, I guess, the kind of highlights for me. I think from thinking with my customer hat on, for some of the stuff that's really good that'll be coming into to the future releases. Okay, so yeah, that's everything for today's session. If you've got any questions, myself and Mike will be hanging around for a little while after the session and answering those questions. Again, if you are watching it back, email training@primasoftware.co.uk. Or give us a call and run it by us. So yeah, thank you for your time today. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next week. Thank you.